Okay, so now we're going to show you how your application should run. I'm going to hit the preview. My code is up here, so you can't see it. I'm going to preview it. So we have, let's do wood first, and let's do 20 feet, and it's a $200 bill. And um, is there another flagpole customer? We'll say yes. And let's do steel, and let's do 20 feet. And then you can see that that's a bigger bill because steel is more expensive. And then is another customer, let's say yes, and let's type in dog for the type of pole, which is completely wrong. And you have to answer this question. You have to ask this question. In other problems, we have moved this down into our error checking and error trapping, and you can't do it here. And the reason for that is the number of feet is used within the switch. So you have to ask this before the switch and before error checking happens, just the way it happens. In the next lesson, which is the optional lesson, we show you how to be able to do subroutines and functions. Our error checking actually should be in a separate piece of code so that we would ask after we put in dog, it wouldn't ask number of feet. It would bring us right back. It would tell us we had an error and then bring us right back before this question is asked. But we can't do that now because we don't know how to do that. All right, so I just click OK, and it tells me I have an error. I click OK, and now I'm going to put in a loom, and let's do 30 feet of that. And again, 350, and then we'll say no. Okay, that's no more customers. And you can see now we have 3 customers. What's important about the 3 number of customers is where is your customer count? So if your customer count equals customer count plus 1 is not in the error, if error flag equals 0, then when we put in the 4 records and one of those records was bad, it'll show 4 customers here. So be careful with that. Make sure that your number of customer or your customer account math is inside the error flag equals 0, so we don't increment the customers if they made an error. So again, if this is above the switch, then when we make an error, it's not going to do it. Now, another way of doing that, if you wanted to, was you could put the customer count equals customer count plus 1 at above the switch, but then in the else for error flag equals 0, in other words, when an error occurs, do the opposite and have customer count equals customer count minus 1 to remove the customer. You can tell that's a little bit less efficient because we're having to do the math, 2 pieces of math when we didn't have to do any math at all. So be careful with that. I wouldn't take off any points if you did it with the customer count equals customer count minus 1, even though it's more inefficient. Just because it allows me to see that, oh, you've seen that you've had a problem with when the error occurs. What I don't want to see, what we will take points off in, is if we've put in 4 records and one of those records was bad, it shows the number of customers as 4. That would be not correct. All right, well, that's how this problem. I have given you test data, so make sure that when you run your flowchart and when you run your code, you put in my values. Make sure that your program is running correctly before finishing it up. All right, that's it. And this is the last assignment. Yay. Okay.